What are ways to make consuming things more fun? So if you love any art form, so films, manga, anime, comics, and really value having like a pleasurable experience, then I think this video can help. So to really curate an experience, I think self-knowledge is key to this. So what do I mean by that? By self-knowledge. So when you're watching something and reading something through self-knowledge, you can make your experience better, like more fun for you specifically. Like we all have different quirks and needs when watching films, reading manga, etc. We're all programmed in certain ways. Now on this channel, I tend to talk about finding the perfect show for you, like customizing your experience based on your aesthetic tastes. Like, do I like darker shows or more lighthearted shows? Do I like certain art styles? But now I want to focus on like the medium itself, like each art medium, and how we can change our relationship with said medium. So we all have fixed notions of how we experience certain mediums. Like for example, on YouTube, when someone gives a review of something, it's a review of the season, sometimes episodes, but it's generally seasons. So the general idea that gets proliferated through like the masses and society is that this is the way you should engage with a story, season by season. Now obviously, if it's a new show, you go through it chronologically, otherwise you don't know what the hell's going on. But if it's a rewatch, and that's what I want to focus on, you can kind of just start wherever you want. You can jump right into your favorite scenes or your favorite episodes. Like you can just go for it. Like you can do things in a way that's more meaningful to you. And I'm not dissing, rewatching a story arc from the start to the finish. Like I get that. Like you get this feeling of build up and then payoff for the second time. But what I'm saying is let's get more creative with that experience. Like one thing you can do is record all the scenes of maybe your favorite character and then watch their specific story unfold. Like you get to see their arc and you don't have to watch all the other parts. You can basically curate your own experience by breaking the standard norms of how someone's supposed to consume something and basically make it your own. Like you can make it your own experience of what you want to see. Now once again, this is on the rewatch, but this is just an example of like you really curating your experience in like a subjective way. And this is why self-knowledge is so important, because we all have our little things that we want to see within a show, within a comic, within anything. So you get to make like little tweaks. Like another example would be if you're someone who's very affected by the textures of what they're holding. If you're reading and you're affected by the texture, then you're probably going to want to you're probably going to want to have like a book in your hand, because it affects you. So you're going to have a preference for physical media versus digital media. And yeah, digital media might be more convenient to some people. And if it is more convenient and they're less affected by textures, then they can just go with digital. It's based on your own personal preference. And these things affect you, right? These things affect the way you engage with a medium. And in this case, the medium being reading novels or reading comics, right? Because these, you can hold on to them. There's a kind of tangible feeling to them. Now, one thing that affects people is the social aspect of experiencing art. Now, I do think this is talked about a decent amount, but I don't think it's talked about in this specific way. So, this shouldn't be crazy, but there's Reddit communities everywhere for any type of series, and people are constantly commenting online and engaging with each other. But a key example for me are the live reactions that people make for like manga chapters, for example. A manga chapter, a popular one, comes out and then people do like a reaction to it, they'll give their thoughts, and this happens between each chapter. And one of the ways this affects your experience with the actual story and what's happening is, if you just wait 1 week or a month in some cases, it can be easy to forget what happened and how the series flowed. But when people watch the reactions of YouTubers to like popular manga, each time they see a reaction, they remember key things because they keep seeing this person who's reacting to it say that information. So what happens is it gets embedded into their mind, which can end up enhancing the total experience in that kind of way. But so when you're like assessing the enjoyment you're getting from something, are you actually assessing how much you enjoyed the chapter itself? Or are you assessing how much you enjoyed the whole experience of, reading the chapter on your own and also watching all of the live reactions that come with it? Like if this was just one isolated incident, just one chapter on its own, that would be pretty clear. But if you're into like, the 50th chapter, how do you know? Like, how do you know how much of those live reactions are actually, affecting how good you think the story actually is as you're actually reading it, Like, I think there is like a real enhancement because you're going to remember just a bunch of scenes that you might have not if you just kind of race through it. Or if you, just read it weekly without seeing anyone else's opinion on it, without seeing a live reaction on it, you might have just forgotten just a crap ton of stuff. Because I'm sure you guys know this, like when you forget something, it just doesn't feel as good, right? Because it might even be like a payoff for like a little thing and then you miss out on that because you don't have that stored within your memory. And that's also an example of why reading a story arc all at once can be more pleasurable because you don't forget. But then again, is it more pleasurable, if you watch videos of people reacting to something? Like it's affecting your ability to actually see like, how good the experience is. So like, now that's one of the flaws of curating your own experience, which is there are two types of curating one's experience. One is where you add something that isn't part of like the main meal. So the main meal being like the manga or the anime or the film or whatever. So for example, you can add music while reading a novel. You can draw while you watch a movie. You can change the color saturation to fit your needs. You can make a comic into like a motion comic. And as mentioned before, getting extra social benefits like with live reactions. So this can blind you to seeing how much of what you're actually experiencing is coming from the thing that you're enjoying. Because what you're doing is you're adding extra stuff. Now the other way is personalized tweaks, which is the example of picking your favorite parts and then enjoying them, or picking your favorite episode or your aesthetics. Since these are more personalized, they won't make the lines blurry, right? Because it's just based on your own personal taste. You're not adding something on top of what's actually happening. So on this channel, I'm always going to showcase the pros and cons of every perspective because these are all perspectives and they're all useful. But yeah, it's like, if you add something on top of something, how do you really know if it's really coming from that thing? But if it's a personalized tweak, you're making the discernment based on what you think is enjoyable and what you think is not enjoyable from the product itself. And because of that, you're able to kind of more specifically curate your experience as well. Now, one thing big that I want to add is that I think it's important that if you do record like something that you're watching on Netflix or anything like that you don't upload these online or try to make money from them because that can be, kind of scummy. So like, I'm not advocating for you to record something and then to sell it off. This is just to curate an experience. And these are little things and, it takes effort. One thing that can be cool is recording yourself reading a manga or something. Like this sounds like a lot of effort. For some people, it might be too much. For others, it might actually be kind of fun and not ruin the experience. So it depends on the person you are. And when you're recording yourself doing this and you're recording the visual as well, then you get to play it back and it feels like someone's reading it out to you. So you have to also not hate your voice. So that's one thing as well. And it will feel like a motion comic. Not like an amazingly done motion comic, but it will still feel like that. So if you want that kind of midpoint between comics and animation, this is a way to do that. And this is also curating it. You're really trying to you're changing the medium to make it what you want it to be. And I do want to add, like, changing the medium's experience, this is that extra add-on that we're talking about. Just like with those live reactions, this is an extra add-on to make things more pleasurable. But that extra add-on should not be necessarily used to determine whether what you're experiencing is of high quality or not. Because that's not really what this is about. This is about making things more enjoyable. And hey, like, you might describe it to someone and be like, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm experiencing film, this is how I'm experiencing comics, this is how I'm experiencing blah blah blah. And they might look at you funny, they might be like, what are you doing? Like, you're not really experiencing this how it should be experienced. And in my opinion, I understand that perspective, but simultaneously, like, who cares? Like, if it's just for you, and you're not forcing it on to other people, it's just like an experience that you're having, and you're just kind of curious about like how you work. Like, do you need things to feel like a motion comic? Do you want to always focus on your favorite characters? Do you want to, like, what are your needs? Like, this is what I mean by self-knowledge. Like, depending on what your needs are, it's gonna reflect what you need to do or change within the medium. Like, if you need to have this feeling of music happening in the background for your novels because it takes you to like a certain place, then absolutely go for that. But you might have people saying, hey, that's not actually how you experience a novel. Same with like audiobooks. Like, you might have like an audiobook and you might even add on top of that music behind that too, right? Like, you can always add whatever you want to add, because the process of curating your experience, it's like being like an original artist in your life. Like, you're trying to curate what's happening in real time. It's a way to kind of be an artist without actually doing the art. You can follow whatever steps you want to follow. You can follow your own process. So it's like being the conductor of your own enjoyment, like the director of your own pleasure. So this is that perspective. I hope you guys enjoyed that.